Hey, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter, and I'm here today with our live stream on Sunday mornings. This is where we look at the transits coming up ahead this week, and we get the angels' advice. I do a reading for each sign using both the tarot and my two other decks. So just for the purposes of clarity, these videos are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about a sign, I'm talking about your rising sign. If you don't know your rising sign, you can go to any one of the free birth calculators on the internet. You just need your exact time of birth and location to determine that information. Also, I have uploaded for each one of the signs a video on the Saturn and the Pluto transit coming up in March. I think this is really powerful. As of yesterday, Pluto went into the anaretic degree, the 29th degree. It has been in a conversation with Mercury for quite some time. So Pluto and Mercury have been digging deep into how we're thinking, how we're absorbing information, and how we are focusing our thoughts and our things. Good morning, Catherine. Good to see you in the room. So please check out those videos. I think you'll find them valuable. They cover the whole springtime and some pivotal dates. Good morning, Stacy. Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad you liked them. So let me just tell you guys a little funny. Just us girls in the room right now. But this week when I was preparing for the videos, first I had to, do all my research and get my notes together. And as you know, I did an event last week, and I ended up waking up Tuesday morning as I'm talking about Saturn. Okay, all day Monday, looking at Saturn and Pluto. Monday, there's a plumbing problem in the building that had permeated the whole week long. We know Pluto rules plumbing. And we know it's been in a conjunction with Mercury, which is my everyday activities, my neighborhood. So that was a big PIA, and literally did not have water pressure for the whole week. And then I woke up the other morning and my back tooth has moved out of alignment with the rest of my teeth. So if I sound a little funny, that's why. So I'm going to have to find the dentist and do all that stuff coming up. But I got to say, what does Saturn rule? Teeth. What does Pluto rule? Plumbing. And I had issues with both things this week. So I find astrology so fascinating. Good morning, Jules. Good morning, CJD. So I wanted to a couple of things I wanted to talk about, some of the aspects that are happening this week, because it's really a time to prepare for the energy shift in March. When Pluto tips its toe into Aquarius, and when Saturn moves into Pisces, we're going to feel a dramatic change in the energy. And those of us that are aware of it can use those energies at their highest vibration. So Saturn and I think y'all know that I have a little love affair with Saturn, even though Saturn drives me crazy. Okay. So I'm having this conversation with Saturn today about realistic, practical, building, enduring, all the things that Saturn represents. And then all of a sudden I felt like Saturn said, I'm a Titan. I'm a god. So is the human really basing the structure of what I rule based on a god or based on human structure? And I thought, wow, there's something, So if we think about kind of the story of Saturn or Kronos, being the last Titan, the 12th Titan, being afraid of losing his power. So he eats his first 5 children or 4 children. And so there we start to develop karma. We start to see the aspects of this energy of Saturn and how it's playing out. And then the thing about it is Saturn overturns his father, Uranus. And then during the golden age, humanity prospered. And this is where it got kind of interesting to me, because I felt like during the golden age, under Saturn's influence, people were understanding more the laws of the universe. They're really looking at things from a higher perspective, from a godlike perspective. And that is, our thoughts are things, focused thought creates. And I think that's why Saturn represents this enduring energy, because initially the human goes under the veil of unknowing. And then as we endure and we go through a few ups and downs, we start to connect more succinctly to who we are from a God perspective. So I kind of feel like the realistic viewpoint that Saturn is looking for, the sustainability that Saturn is looking for, is not from a human perspective where we pound the pavement to make things happen, but rather where we engage the universe to support us and to give us signs and omens and the confidence to continue to move forward towards our endeavors. And this is why I think Saturn rewards over time. It's very, very interesting to me. I also hadn't quite connected in quite some time that Saturn rules agriculture. So there's another thing going on here where I think that this is coming into play because Saturn not only builds, but enables things to grow and to be harvested. So I want to kind of task you as a conscious tribe to start to think about, how can I rewrite the parameters of Saturn and apply the realistic divine laws of the universe into my own life, or at least start playing with them a little bit so that I can start to see things from a new perspective? Because the human that builds and the human structures are all out of balance. There's always haves and have-nots. There's always people actually working to build somebody else's empire, and whoever the empire is really not efforting at all, but just receiving. And so I think as Saturn moves into Pisces, the sign of mastering old history and ancestral patterns, and we start to put Saturn in a place that is the realistic viewpoint Saturn's looking for, is that we are applying the laws of the universe, that we are trusting at a deeper level that which we cannot see, but which we can intend with our energy. So I think that's something to think about. Good morning, small wildflowers. So, all right, let's talk about there's just a few things I think going on this week. I think really we're teeing up for a new moon next Sunday, and I'll be doing a separate video this week on that. But we have, as I said, Mercury entered Aquarius today. It's at the first degree today, and it's still having this conversation with Pluto, who will be at the 29th degree from now until it moves into Aquarius on March 23rd. This is going to be a very powerful period of time as Pluto is almost, I want to use the word demanding that we look at the Leo qualities in our life. Are we standing in leadership? Are we standing in courage? Are we coming from our heart? I really, these planets, they hit me in tough ways sometimes, but when I look at the deeper level of it, and I look at my own human psychology, I feel like these planets aren't malefic at all. They're cutting through the muck. And the muck feels normal because we've been walking through it for so long. But as we become more aware and move into the Aquarian age, we will all who have started to master the idea that thoughts are things. And we know that back, I don't know, was it 2020 or 2021? We started a series of Jupiter and Saturn will meet, I believe, in air signs every 20 years for quite some time. So we're in this air element that's paying attention to our thoughts. So as Mercury moves forward into Aquarius and gets a little further away from Pluto, I still feel like this conversation is up for on the docket. Let's put it that way. We have Venus making a conjunction to Neptune this week. It will be exact on the 24th. I'm sorry, it will be exact at the 24th degree on the 15th of February. And I think this is a really dreamy time. Valentine's Day week. A lot of people, some people call this single awareness week. I don't really care one way or the other what kind of week it is, but I do know that Neptune and Venus conjunct is making me feel very creative, making me feel like my meditations are even more rich and fulfilling in just feeling the energy of the breath flowing in and out. And I want to offer it this way because while there could be, I guess on the shadow side of Neptune and Venus's conjunction, there could be this feeling of loss of my self-worth, but I disagree with that really. I think this is about the tee up for the Saturn move into Pisces and the Pluto tipping its toe into Aquarius. So as you play with your creative endeavors, and this is what I want to say too, every genre of life is creative. It is not just for the quote unquote artist, it's a viewpoint. Okay, so I think this is a real opportunity to start to look at, and because it's exact at the Piscean degree. So, where can I address any ancestral energies that may be holding me back from what I really want to experience, and any fears? Because as a person who is willing to birth a creative endeavor into the material world, there is a vulnerability that's attached to that, because we want the audience to appreciate it or to applaud it or to enjoy it. And oftentimes the human will look to the audience and try to determine what do they want. And I think if we go back to what do we want, and then we start to create as to what brings us pleasure and joy, then it will find its natural audience. So I think this is really a powerful time to think about that as these two planets come together, and they won't talk again for a while. And if they do, it's going to be in sextile, square, opposition, and a trine, of course, but they won't have this tight of a conversation for about another 2 years. And we have Saturn and the Sun coming together in an exact conjunction, 27 degrees on the 16th. To me, this is again, Saturn and the Sun. How do you project yourself out into the world? Saturn's asking. Saturn is, going to be hanging out I believe Saturn's kind of slowing its roll as it's getting to its own anaretic degrees before it leaves Pisces. And here in Aquarius, it's really asking me, am I playing to my genius, my brilliance, my own individual unique perspective, which plays right back to what Venus and Neptune are talking about. Moving forward, I really believe there's going to be less brick and mortar jobs. I believe that even the brick and mortar jobs that people get might be more flexible and, working from home or varying locations. So a lot of the structures that we are used to, 40-hour work weeks, certain ways we put our children into school, those things are all going to change. And as we start to allow for our own expression, then we are offering ourselves opportunity to make money and to have resources that go beyond how people have made money in the past. So I think that's part of the Saturn-Sun conversation. Are you willing to endure putting yourself out into the universe without immediate validation that it's a money-making endeavor? Good morning, Scarred Al. It's good to see you. Welcome to the room. Hi, Lucy Rose. It's good to see you. It's good to be back with everybody. Oh, congratulations on your bathroom renovation. What a fun time to do that, as Mercury is conjunct Pluto. Mercury, my everyday activities, Pluto, my toilet. All right. Hi, Courtney. Welcome to the room. Okay. Also, finally, little thing that's going on this week that I think is kind of fun is a growing sextile between Jupiter and Mercury. And I think this is important because as a result of the conversation that Mercury's been having with Pluto, because Mercury is like, let me get a little bit of information and move on and share it. And Pluto's like, whoa, slow your roll, dude. We need to look deeper into this situation. There's more going on that meets the eye. So now Mercury's sort of been like, okay, Pluto, I'm not going to argue with you anymore, but can you feed me a little bit of this, point me in the right direction? And this is where this conjunction, or the growing sextile, between Jupiter and Mercury come into play. And I think too that this is also as a result of the aspects on between Venus and Neptune and Saturn and the Sun. So here I am, Jupiter, my possible expansion in Aries, the sign of self, at the 9th degree, the Sagittarian degree, making a sextile with Mercury in Aquarius at the 10th degree. Mercury represents thought. Aquarius represents the higher octave of thought, and the 10th degree represents the one, which represents our thoughts. So I really think that we're starting to have this growing idea that if I build something that I find interesting, that I find fun, and I'm really willing to dig deep into where am I giving up my own personal satisfaction to pay the bills or to make sure there's a roof over my head. And I start to, because I feel like when I look at things that way, it's from a fear-based place. And I feel as if that fear-based place has this this energy that's like, I am not a powerful co-creator. And I believe that we are powerful co-creators. And as we as a tribe start to focus in on those things and ask the universe to support that focus, like, give me signs that I'm on the right track. I don't want to just feel like I'm an idiot throwing my energy into the universe and nothing's going to happen. Because the average human will tell you, you got to effort, you got to like market, you need to reach out to people, you need to do this and that. So let me give you another example. I mentioned earlier when I started that I had plumbing issues this week, and I've had a tooth move out of alignment. The tooth is Saturn, the plumbing is Pluto. And at the same time, I felt like I can persevere through this. I'm gonna, no matter what the interruption is today, I'm gonna make at least one step moving forward. And I'm literally challenging these planets in the sense of I'm purporting the energy. And I was a little nervous because nobody booked a reading, and until like Thursday. And by Thursday, I'd got the majority of my videos recorded. And what I realized was that when I'm focusing on something, I kind of shut down the energy in another room, which is to, the one-on-ones and the interactions there. So at first, when I got nervous, I thought, oh my God, no one's booking. I'm impoverished. I got all freaked out. But then I realized this, and this is part of what Saturn was saying. Teri, you have to trust beyond your eyes. You were working over here. You were doing what Saturn is asking of you, to produce the content, make sure you do it to the level that you find acceptable. And then the minute I got that done, I got booked. So this is what I'm trying to say. We have to kind of not knee-jerk react right now. We sort of have to, we don't have to do anything. We get to look at these things and say, okay, as Jupiter is growing in its sextile to Mercury, I'm starting to believe in myself a little bit more. I'm starting to believe and have faith that the universe has got my back. I'm starting to think that everything is working out for me. And the more I'm chiming into that energy, the more the universe is supporting that. And this is why I believe we are going to look like magical beings over the next few years. Because with our tenacity, Saturn, to continue down the road of believing that which we cannot see, but continue to intend to create, Saturn will reward, and Pluto will make so much money for you. It's not even funny. Let's grab onto this stuff, man. I'm telling you. All right. Ready to go on to our readings, everybody? It is Aquarius season, and I believe by next week we will have moved into Pisces. I think on the 18th, the sun moves into Pisces. I forgot to mark that down. So we're going to start with our Aquarius rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. And again, just real quickly, because I don't know if a lot of you were in the room when I announced this, I did a video for each rising sign on Saturn's move into what house it will be and Pluto's. It covers the springtime, and it's, I think, a really good tool to help you set up the energies now to prepare to take advantage of them when we feel a really palatable shift into this new energy. And I think we're going to see it on a mundane level in the outside world. And let me just real quickly, thank you, Courtney. I think that we're also going to see on a mundane level maybe a little bit of more restriction with our food supply. In the United States, they've been teeing us up to be prepared to, have a shortage of bread and eggs and da-da-da-da-da. So as Saturn ruling agriculture, which is something I always think of Taurus, but it really is all the earth signs, and Saturn being the god, right? I think that there's going to be a little bit of restriction there. And there may be, as Saturn moves into Pisces, more regulations or a little bit of a blanket being thrown over our medical. I'm so reticent to use any inflammatory words because I don't want to put that out into the universe. But I would imagine there's the potential of seeing some restriction, maybe, the masks again, or or I don't know. There's just something, you know, Saturn rules, Pisces rules hospitals, research, viruses, STDs, the fluids in the body, you know, the places where we store people, mental hospitals, orphanages, old age homes. And so when Saturn initially moves in there, I think we are going to feel Saturn's energy on a real mundane level. And it's up to us to reach for the higher octaves here. Okay, let's start with our Aquarius. Thank you so much for putting up with me in my saying I'm starting a reading and then talking for another 5 minutes. Okay, everybody. All right. Well, welcome, Katerina. Good to see you in the room. Just call me C. Welcome back. I'll make sure I say hi to everybody. Okay, I think I did. I hope eggs go down again. Okay, let's go. Aquarius, your tarot card for the week is the World. Now, you know, this is a wonderful card. This is a card where the Fool has been through all the major arcana energies and is now ready to receive reward. And yet we see all the elements represented on the zodiac wheel. We see, you know, the fire signs, the earth signs. We see the water signs. This is the eagle, which is another totem of Scorpio. And then we see the air signs, the thinker. And there is victory to be had, but there's still there's a vulnerability, and yet there is an awareness. And because I feel like this part of the sash is not about covering up the genitals. It's about a sense of like flow through vulnerability, meaning the vulnerable part of me that is skipping through life, moving towards what I want. I also think that there's a little bit of a Saturn energy attached to this as we are at the end of the tarot major arcana, and this is where the reward is showing up for the hero who has walked through all the elements of the human experience and become more wise. All right, here we go. Aquarius, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. And as I'm shuffling, I just want to say this for you, Aquarius. If you start getting a little bit of feeling a little anxious, first of all, never call the anxiety mine. Always call it the. But I also want to offer it this, because if for some reason you're feeling a little bit of that nervous system being stoked, I think take a second look to see if whatever you're contemplating is truly coming from your heart or maybe coming from your head and what you think would be best for you. Because I think that will, as you take a second look at it, you might realize that anxiety is actually an inner knowing that's protecting you from moving in a direction that's not authentic to who you are. All right, Aquarius, our first angel is Xana, the angel of protection. The second is Archangel Michael. The third is Daniel. And the final is Bethany. Aquarius rising has been experiencing, Scorpio is our 10th house. So they've been experiencing the South Node going through that sign. And I want to offer it like this, because while there's a lot of elements to each one of the dynamics in astrology, what if right now for Aquarius, what I was just talking about being authentic to your heart, and the South Node going through your 10th house is asking you to really put aside how you perceive others see you and whether or not they agree with you. And if it's authentic to your heart, are you willing to be egoless enough, the South Node, to continue past this human moment so that your tribe can find you? That's what I want to say. Welcome, Mikey. It's good to see you. I feel like I haven't seen you in the room for a long time. Okay, here we go. Xana's being joined by the B card, BU Aquarius. Archangel Michael's being joined by the Spider. Daniel's being joined by the Communications card. And Bethany is being joined by the Mystery card. I really am connecting to the idea that for my Aquariuses, this is really about allowing yourself the permissions to expand beyond what you've experienced. And first off, asking yourself, what do I believe about who and what I am? Because as you sit in that energy and you trust that brilliance that you represent, that genius thought, that outside of the box, you get to know on some level that when you go back into the box, people aren't going to see things the way you see them. So your willingness to sort of be like, wow, okay, I'm good. I'm just going to continue on my path and you'll figure it out as I demonstrate this, because you're being protected and there is victory offered to you as you remain in your belief, your being energy, what you want to be in this lifetime. Because Archangel Michael is asking you to have the divine life, to have courage and making the divine changes that you know are in the wings. And I think part of that is the relationship you have with a bigger picture of things, how people perceive you, how if you have a YouTube channel, if you have a business, if you're working out in the world, you could be having this sort of conflict between how people have historically referred to you or thought of you and how you feel about your evolution and representing that. Because here, for some reason, Daniel is not coming up for me as marriage. He's coming as history in relationships. And there's the communications card. Because again, with the idea, Aquarius of all the signs is the sign that's the most close to that which cannot be seen, really, if I think about it, in a way that through the invention of Aquarius, through that innovation, through that technology, there is it's not like Pisces. It's not like I'm feeling for the other side. It's like I'm intending to create something that will help humanity. And it's like a bigger picture thing. So I feel as if for Aquarius, all of a sudden I got choppy. If you try to go back into making people happy, and that's how you're going to birth yourself into a new chapter, I think it's a little choppy. So if you're looking and you're going, I really like this. I really like the way this video sounds. I really like this perspective. Maybe it's not like everybody else's, but I think there's value to it. I think you're going to find benefit and movement in the story, because I believe that Bethany right here is about choosing you. The mystery card is always human choice and free will, and this is about you. And I think that sometimes we think that we are alone in the world. Aquarius can feel like they're alone in the world, and I think there's a lot of people, especially right now, incarnating and that are, of a certain age, that have grown up to be their unique expression, to be different from the herd. And as we celebrate that, and you, Aquarius, celebrate that within yourself. Whoa, I just dropped my stone. Whoa, and I almost lost my glasses. I'm sorry. Okay, there is reward to be had. All right, here we go. On to our Pisces. Can you hear that little lisp in my speech, you guys? Because I am trying to speak clearly. All right, on to our Pisces. Your tarot card is the Knight of Wands. The Knight of Wands is a very creative, very excited energy for me. The Knights always kind of represent this teenage energy, sort of a combination of childlike exuberance and a bit of adulthood in as well. And I want to offer it there this way because, oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I have this tooth that's moved. I don't know where it's going, but I want to offer this for my Pisces, because this red like feather on the top of his head makes me feel as if there is some sort of base chakra energy here, that you have the ability, because you're a creative being, and as you allow the creativity to get excited about it, to move it forward, there's a sense of being secure and stable through your own imagination, through your mind and your imagination. I also feel like the way that he's holding this wand is very intentional, and there's new life all over it. So if indeed my Pisces want to create anything. And again, creativity is not just art. Okay, it's not just music. It's creative in the way that you view something and allow that view to be uh, nurtured and let it grow. Let's see what Spirit has to say, because it's also a fire sign energy. So that we're talking Aries, we're talking Sagittarius and Leo. All right, Pisces, our first angel is Isaiah. The second is Grace and Antoinette. The third is Adriana. And the final is Aurora. Isaiah is all about giving birth to new situations and new ideas in your life. And the idea of I want to offer it this way, because Pisces is I think Pisces and Cancer, but Pisces especially, those two fishies, they're very intermingled with other people's energy, and I think sometimes that makes it challenging for Pisces to figure out where are the boundaries between you and me, and how do I be me while I love you so much. And I think that this is really about kind of turning that focus back onto yourself. Isaiah is being joined by the Perception card. Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the Risk card. Adriana is being joined by the Burden card. And Aurora is being joined by the Love card. Okay, now I know exactly what this is for Pisces. Because, one of the things about the fire signs, especially Sagittarius, when you get the King of Wands, oftentimes the tarot card reader would say it's a gentleman who's not available, looking off into the distance at a foreign land. I want to offer it this way, because I think for my Pisces, this is kind of giving life to new ideas about who and what you are, and maybe about your own individuality and how you intermingle your energy with another. And you can intermingle your energy without being absorbed by another human. Now let's talk about Saturn. Saturn is going to, in a few weeks, is going to start to get to its anaretic degree of Aquarius before it moves into your sign. And it's going to move 0 to 7 degrees within this year, 2023. And 2023 is a 7-year. This is a pivotal time for Pisces. And I want to offer it this way, because I feel like there's going to be like this division, people who want to escape, they just want to run away and not deal with it, whatever it may be. And yet there's this other half that makes me feel like there's an opportunity to master your spirituality. When we look at Saturn as not a human, not superimposing the human structures that we created. Saturn didn't create them. So when we look at things from a God perspective, and we see that every challenge has its own gift, every opportunity presents an obstacle, every obstacle presents an opportunity, Pisces can feel more empowered to be yourself within the collective and see how that creates connection. Because I really think it's time to give birth to new perceptions about you. And in doing so, having compassion for yourself as you risk not focusing in on another person or another situation. And as you do that, it may feel a bit of a burden, but you're being led by God to a new dynamic in your life. You're being led, and in some ways, having a childlike exuberance, having a willingness to actually follow the breadcrumbs because something could be better for you than you realize. And then in the final position, we see Love and Aurora. Aurora says you're flying high right now. Don't descend, because you will soon inspire others by your example. And this is really powerful for Pisces because Pisces is unusually, there's a lot of it's a very polarizing sign, because the escapism of alcohol and drug addiction, the mental hospital idea, the idea that it's the 12th house, that I'm not seen, I feel a bit invisible, all of that can be a bit challenging. And at the same time, when you give permission for you to see you, then those that around you will be more in alignment with you without you having to effort for it. But right now, this is about allowing Spirit to lead you and having compassion for yourself as you no longer allow your boundaries to be blurred to the point of you not being seen in the relationship, in the situation, in the experience. because I think this is really powerful. And I think this is important because I think that one of the things that both Pisces wants and craves, but is a little bit afraid of, is to be seen for who they are. You know, to be vulnerable enough to show that creativity, that sensitivity, that intuitive body that operates in a really powerful way. I don't work on a human. I don't walk my path from a human perspective. When I get scared about money and resources this week, focusing in on making videos tends to energetically tighten the in-person bookings or the one-on-one bookings. And as I was aware of that, rather than jumping up and trying to make people call me, I went into meditation, put my Hollywood premiere beam up above my head, and imagined myself going into the universe and drawing in the people who would be, you know, best served by my gifts and my talents. So I think this is an opportunity for Pisces to start to connect to that idea so that Saturn can really, truly bring you a mastership of your spirituality and your awareness of all things are connected. Your awareness that the cycles don't end with the physical body dying. Instead, they continue on. And I think that's really the hard part for people who commit suicide, because I think people who commit suicide are so dark or deep in the physical experience, unless it's a medical suicide. If somebody's in great pain, I don't know if I think the suicide has the same effect. But when someone is escaping this life because of the pain and the darkness of it, they are very, very shocked and in a bit of awe when they find themselves on the other side. And whoops, I guess I'm going to be in a do-over and have to do that again. And it's not because someone told us to. It's because we choose to. We choose to. We're much more brave when we're out of body. All right. Let's go on to our Aries. Aries, your tarot card. Ooh la la. Drama. Overkill, overdone. This is very, very interesting to me. So let's just have a brief moment to talk about Chiron transiting your first house. Chiron is the child of Saturn. And the wound is abandonment because, you know, when he and Lyra, or whatever her name was, when they had sex as the centaurs, or as stallions, Chiron came out as a centaur. And it was something that I want to offer it this way. The wound that we carry as humans is also the great gift as we realize a lot more things. We realize about contrast. I often say that the dark spots make the color pop. And I think that this week Mars is still in Gemini. There's still a real anxious, angry energy in the neighborhood. And I feel like this is an important time for Aries to be conscious. This last week, not only did I experience plumbing issues, I experienced like a bunch of different stories within that experience. And I was very, very aware of one part of me was frustrated and wanted to act very Aryan, and the other part of me, my Libra, said, oh, no, that's not going to work for you. Let's see where this is going for you, Aries, because as Jupiter comes up on Chiron, you know, this is a polarizing experience, because I think it's either going to exasperate the wound or it's going to help bring sense to whatever wound you carry. And we all carry wounds. Nobody gets out without wounds. So I think this is an opportunity not to be overly dramatic about things, or if people are purporting drama, to turn your head away from it, not engage. First angel is Athena. The second is Archangel Uriel. Astera is the third, and our final is Celeste. Whew. All right, Athena is being joined by the butterfly. Archangel Uriel is being joined by the bee card. Astera is being joined by the risk card. And Celeste is being joined by the wasp. This is actually really super good. Okay, this makes me feel like Aries, has an opportunity to really practice their master class that they have been working through, because Athena is about lovingly asserting yourself and the butterfly is about transformation. And I want to offer it this way because as I experience certain disruptions and then I'm aware of my own personal reaction and how I used to react to things versus how I react now, or choose to act now, I can be very proud of myself as I walk through a disruptive period, because I think actually there's going to be some drama this week for Aries, and I don't know if you'll react. You've learned a lot about yourself as Mars has been transiting the house of thought, of speech, of where I absorb information, because now Archangel Uriel has been working with you on your anger and frustration. And Aries, you do rule anger and frustration. And now there's the B card. And this makes me think that you're aware of your being energy. You're aware of how you show up. You're aware of the ripple effect. And you're becoming more engaging when you need help versus trying to be too forceful. Because here's Astera saying that you've been reaching for the stars in shifting, in growing, in expanding, so that you can be more the hero energy versus the banshee warrior. And there's the risk card. This continue to risk reaching for the stars. Continue to allow yourself to lovingly assert yourself. It's not about not being a Martian or of Martian energy. It's about how you are of that Martian energy, because we can be intentional with all sorts of different levels of frequency with that. A level of anger has one frequency, and a level of compassion and self-assuredness, and yet, not backing down is another energy, because I think what you're really going to do is shift away from the stinging energy that I don't want to, this is the thing. Mars and Aries, there's all sorts of aspects. You could be stinging on the inside and not stinging on the outside because you're mad at yourself for not asserting yourself. Or if you're like me, because my Taurus moon and my Aries rising really dominate over my Libra sun. So I'm constantly, and my North Node is in Libra, I am constantly trying to stretch to be more diplomatic when I think I'm talking to people who are talking down to me like I'm dumb. And so this is where I'm going with this. It's like taking control of the situation, because you're not going to allow yourself to move into old dramatic patterns where your frustration leads you to being too assertive, and then you don't get anywhere you want to go. So I think you're going to really start to master this energy of maybe some frustration, anger, of old stories. And I want to offer this too for my Aries real quick, because the nodes are going to change this year. And when they do, the North Node is going to move into Aries, and it's going to make you excited for what you're going to create. So everything you've walked through, with Mars going through Gemini right now, making you aware of your thinking process, making you aware of what your speech is, how you talk, not only to other people, but mostly to yourself. All of this is grooming you for this very powerful energy of being a co-creator, and in a way that is very solid and sustainable. Thank you, Saturn. All right, let's go on to our Tauruses, rising moons, sun, and stelliums. I know that self-talk, it's an interesting conversation that seems to never end. All right, here we go. Ooh, Taurus, temperance. Temperance is really a card of balance. And I want to offer it this way, because if we see this card, one of the predominant things is the what's going on around Archangel Gabriel's head. And then we see the crown below, which is more earthbound. And I feel as if, again, here we are aware of how do I perceive things. Uranus has been meandering through Taurus for quite some time. And Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. Brilliance, thought beyond the human, I want to use the word mundane, the human everyday thoughts. And I hear, this is where I'm going with this. The North Node has been encouraging you to stretch for more than you've ever stretched for before. So now I think that as We are seeing Uranus move forward. It's at 15 degrees today. It's actually making a trine to my midheaven as I think about that. And as we see the North Node coming up into a conversation, very strong conversation with Jupiter next month, and in May, when Jupiter moves into Taurus, there's a potential for things to really open up. And I want to offer it this way because Taurus, this little pathway leads to, it feels as almost this pathway is leading to the crown. But first, I must have balance as I'm allowed to have epiphanies and I see the ebb and the flow. One cup is being filled, but another appears to being emptied. That's akin to what I was saying when I was focusing on the videos. It didn't appear to, my other source of income felt like it was drying up. And yet what I had the wherewithal to know that I'm endeavoring a whole new highway. And so there will be this sort of choppy energy in that journey. So I think that's what that's about. And also allowing yourself the privilege of maybe even during this period of time, enjoying good music or enjoying soothing music. I think the idea that your ruling planet Venus is having a conversation, very, very strong conversation with her best friend Neptune today, just not today, this week. I think it's really important. And again, there's this sense of creativity that comes from anything involving Venus. And you may just finally be getting to a place where you're ready to trust yourself. Trust yourself. I don't know why I want to word it that way. I absolutely agree, Lucy Rose, that you will receive. Okay, here we go. Taurus, our first angel is Shanti, the angel of peace. The second is Rosetta. The third is Daniel. And the final is Astera. Shanti's being joined by the Queen. Rosetta's being joined by the Bee card. Daniel's being joined by the Wasp. And Astera's being joined by the Love card. This is beautiful. All right, Taurus, this is what I want to say. Taurus, I'm a Taurus moon, so I know that I have some very fixed energy when it comes to my emotional body. But here we have the Queen, which is about fertile reception, and we have peace. And I want to offer it this way because I think this peace is in knowing. One of the shadow sides of the Taurus energy is a little bit of feeling unsure and insecure about resources and money and wanting to make sure that everything is taken care of, buttoned up. We also see the imprint of our family history start to show up in the Taurus energy. So I think that this Queen really is representing reception, receiving peace of mind and feeling more balanced as I understand more definitively how the laws of the universe work, because I'm starting to really believe that I am a child of God, child of the universe. And as I relax and focus in on how it feels when I have received my bounty, or when I often say that when I'm walking around, everything's working out for me. Everything I need is showing up. I just get to relax in the meantime, because I think what's happening is, again, I see history of frustration, history of being angry. And, what happens when the bull sees red, it charges. And oftentimes is that charging really serving us. And this is why I kind of laugh at the way that I'm wired, because my Aries and my Taurus can be very challenging at times. But at the same time, there's a part of me that when someone tries to tell me, I don't know what I know, or you've got to effort, or you've got to give people a discount, or you've got to give people what they want, I always see that as a slippery human slope. Because if I'm delivering what I find attractive and what I find of peace, it will come to me effortlessly, which is why we see Astera and the Love card here. And I'll tell you, I'm not necessarily resonating with an intimate relationship. This feels more as if Taurus is starting to, as Uranus going through your house, there's always going to be some wild cards showing up. And now I think you're starting to get used to the idea of wild cards showing up. And as the nodes are finishing their journey through your house, your access, I think you're starting to take the reins, sit at the throne of your own life and feel a sense of peace about that. It's almost like your inner knowing is starting to supersede your human knowing. I hope that makes sense. And I'm going to say this too, just for those Taurians that may be of childbearing years, both men and women wanting to start a family. This to me very much says there's the possibility of that. And part of it is to remember that it's not just two humans making one baby. It is two humans inviting a soul in for an experience of evolution. And if we look at our natal charts and see certain aspects that are challenging, do we, look at what's been going on in the skies? Some of those souls may be like, I'm not coming in right now. I'm going to wait a few months. I'm going to wait till Jupiter moves into Taurus. I'm going to wait until, Pluto moves into Aquarius. There's a lot of other things going on, because I think that there's a high potential that you could potentially start your family, get pregnant, feel more fertile in that way. But you've got to sort of take your frustration off and not try to make it happen, but rather allow it to happen and to enjoy the act of sex rather than make it a function of some sort of destination. Okay, that's where I'm going with that. And I'm moving on to Gemini. I agree, Mikey. My inner knowing has really soothed my Taurus moon. Although it's a funny exercise of keep having to pay attention to the imprint I have. As many experiences, I told you guys a while back, I had an abscess during COVID when it was at its peak, and I used the medical mediums protocol for, fixing that. And I was very successful at it. And so when this tooth moved, I was like, oh boy, okay, here we go again with this mouth of mine. And yet, while I know I'm planning on going to see a dentist, I also know that in the meantime, I'm going to fuel my body with things I know will support it as I move forward, because I have an experience of knowing my body is trustworthy, knowing that my body knows how to course correct when I fuel it rather than feed it. Okay. Gemini, your tarot card is solid money, steady money, dependability. Look at that. This is the Knight of Pentacles. And as you can see, it represents a Taurus energy, represents the earth signs, and it represents, it looks like to me, things that aren't moving, which can be good or bad. There's a lot of predominant red in this character's garb as well as on the horse. So this to me feels like a sense of money, a sense of security with financial resources. Let's see. Because, having Mars in your house for such a long time, your first house, it could have felt like a real uphill climb, because, Mars in its lower energy is going to be reactionary, going to be pissed off, going to be pushy, harsh, and brash. And then we talk about Gemini rules my neighborhoods, my children, my community, my teammates, my workmates. And, I told you guys recently, I've had a rash of people just randomly say weird shit to me on the street, like, oh, hey, old lady. And I'm like, excuse me? What may be true, but why are you bringing that up, So let's see. Gemini, our first angel is Maya, the angel of schooling and education. Layla is the angel of intention. Rosetta is the angel of children. And then we have Bridget, about looking deeper into a situation. Oh, are you on a trip, Miss Small Wildflowers? I hope you're having fun. All right, here we go. Maya is being joined by the stag. Layla is being joined by the disruption card. Rosetta is being joined by the hawk. And Bridget's being joined by the movement card. Okay. So for my Geminis, Gemini is a shaker and a mover by nature. It does not like to sit in one place. And there's an interesting thing here because I think on some level, Maya's talking about schooling and education. And here, I feel like the stag is talking about leadership, not for others, but of yourself, and sort of being on some level stubborn about sticking to your guns about what you want. Because I often say, and I did it this week, I'm ready to be ready to receive. I may not be able to see it with my eyes, but I know what I need is on its way if it's not already arrived. And I never put a definitive thing on what it is that I need, because the universe can actually give you more than you need when you allow for a little wiggle room here. Because Layla is talking about talking to God and the angels. And I feel like the intention is you're talking about the disruption that's been going on. And I almost feel a little bit like Spirit is trying to encourage Gemini not to be too stubborn in their initial perception of things, and actually to maybe even start to see how, if there is some sort of stuck energy, things aren't moving in the way of resources, there could be opportunities coming that you cannot see. I've often talked about, because of my age, my career really didn't get to start until Yelp was invented. And it was 3 years after Yelp launched that I got my first Yelp review, and this is where the ball started rolling. And with the changes in technology, Gemini, you don't know what could potentially be coming down the pike for you, because I feel like at this moment it's about being a child of source, of child of God in many ways, and starting to rise above your initial perception of things and look for the signs and omens that things are working out for you. Now, I want to offer this too. When you look for signs and omens, don't expect a neon sign that says, "Hey, small wildflowers, go this way." It's more of a subtlety. You'll be watching a commercial and there'll be a familiar name. I was listening to an Abraham this morning while I was meditating, and it was a morning meditation. And this particular one said, "I'm enjoying looking out at the ocean." And I thought, oh, Abraham, you're so funny. You say things sometimes that really make me think you're talking to me specifically. Because here, I think that there is movement within your career sector and within your monetary dynamic that is moving towards what you want, not away from it. And part of your journey right now is to learn the exchange between source energy and your thoughts and your things. So as you look deeper into a situation, you will actually see movement, but it may not appear to be movement. It may appear to be a bit stagnant, but I don't think that's true, because something is being disrupted that's going to work for you, not against you. All right, let's go on to our Cancers, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Hi, Flamingo 2. Good to see you here. Welcome, welcome. Better late than never. All right, Cancer. We have the Hierophant. All the major arcana cards have a very strong energy, in the sense that they are a little bit more of less of the mundane everyday tasks and more about the characteristics and traits of the human journey. And here we learn about structure. We learn about religion. And there's also a Taurus energy attached to this. I don't know if you can see the little bull heads behind the guy's on the top of his throne. So here, there's going to be something to do with common collective thought, human structure, and I wonder if there isn't a bit of potential lawsuit or to things pertaining to the law in this regard. Let's look and see. All right, we have Archangel Gabriel for our Cancers. We have Merlina, we have Vanessa, and then we have Rochelle. Okay, now I'm beginning to think that the Hierophant is about having faith that what you need in the material world will reveal itself to you. Because again, there's a Taurian vibe on this card that, and Taurus is all about resources. Archangel Gabriel is being joined by Merlin. Merlina's being joined by the movement card. Vanessa's being joined by the deer. And Rochelle is being joined by the Grail Knight. All right, so my Cancers, I want to offer you this because as Pluto's been opposing Cancer in Capricorn, and now we're at the anaretic degree, it's also at the anaretic degree of Cancer. And this is asking you on some level, am I only going to base my my assessment of my life, my resources, and what I want on what I can see with my eyes? Or am I going to start to trust a little bit more of the intuitive part of my body that knows everything will be fine? Because this is now referring to a connection to the other side. This feels like not a religious, but spiritual connection. And as you continue to talk to God and the angels, Archangel Gabriel is all about communication. And this is about alchemy, justice, and balance. This week, when I started my videos, I had a very strong intention about the Saturn-Pluto videos. And it took me 5 days to create all these videos between filming them and researching them. And I really wanted people to feel a sense of a personal reading coming through. And when I did that over the last few days, I think I put it out on Monday. No, I'm sorry, I put it out on Thursday. I've gotten quite a few new, over 100 new subscribers. This is where I want to tell you, there's movement offered to you that you can't see. And a part of you gets to trust this inner knowing that may not make sense to other people right now. But as you allow yourself to really think of yourself as a magical being, Merlina is like the female version of Merlin. And while it talks about confusion, you're never going to get me to believe that someone who has a wizard's energy will be confused about anything, because they naturally understand ebb, flow, and balance. And so here's the movement card. Now it's about having faith in yourself while you want to do that crab crawl and run out of the room. But no, it's about being gentle and diplomatic as you're starting to shift from this idea of I nurture other people, I take care of other people. Traditionally, we think of Cancer as the mother. The mother is the one that sits down and eats a cold meal, and everyone else sits and has a hot meal. So here, I think this is really about turning that light on yourself and knowing that when you do that, when you start to really connect with spirit, that all your resources will be provided for you. You will start to trust in a way that you've never felt before, and it will make you a very, very powerful being. There's Rochelle asking you to follow your heart, and there's the Grail Knight that's asking you to bow down to the sacred and to recognize illusion for what it is. It's an empowerment exercise. Illusion, and sometimes what we hope will be there on the outside, but we kind of know won't be there on the inside. When we surrender to that inner knowing, then we actually save both ourselves and the other party a lot of heartache through expectation. I think this is an important time for Cancer to start to nurture themselves and nurture their inner being, that inner knowing. And if you have trepidation or fear about it, then you simply say to spirit, give me signs and omens. I'm living in a human apparatus right now. I don't easily connect to these things when the human structure is telling me that everywhere I go is dangerous and to be feared. We've got the 9.million version of COVID out there. I don't even know what they call it anymore. People are acting crazy. I don't know if you guys saw this on the news, but this doctor was riding his bike down Coast Highway, and some guy, for reasons that nobody can figure out, decided to not only hit him with his car, but then to get out of his car and go back and stab the guy while he was laying on the ground, basically completely injured. People are woohoo. And so my point is not to give into the woohoo, but to rather think about that I'm representing, and my job is to connect to my inner being that knows that I am perfectly safe, that I am here to represent something that when you follow your heart, magic can happen. Courtney, it was the saddest thing and so insane. Really, people are just doing crazy things. There was another thing that happened yesterday where some young woman was high and decided to crash her car into 10 other cars, in a parking lot. I don't mean to laugh. But I just, right now, I really think it's a very polarizing time. And while there are, while all of this very sad stuff is going on, if we key into that, then we inadvertently are keying into that energy. It's best to be able to key into something different so we can represent. I don't mean to laugh straight up. I mean, I'm not laughing because I think it's funny. I'm laughing because it kind of makes me nervous. All right, let's go on to our Leos. All right, my Leos. This is a little bit of an edgy card. I'm not going to say it. So for our first fire sign, Aries, we saw the 10 of Swords. And now with our second fire sign, we're seeing the 9 of Swords. The thing to pay attention to here is that this character is really in his head. The swords that are lined up on that wall behind him, or whatever that dark spot, they're very well balanced. They look as if they're very secure, and yet he's worried. He's so worried that he can't look. And I think that this is going to be interesting because I often call worry a form of prayer that does not serve me, puts my intention and my attention in the very experience I don't want to have. And another thing to notice here on this card is underneath this pillow is, first of all, the color of my power chakra. And then here's this fighting, the demons underneath. There's this like war between, I almost feel like it's believing in myself, not believing in myself, what's going on back and forth. I believe the reason that they call the swords in the tarot deck strife and struggle is because it represents the air element, and the air element is how we perceive and what we think, and that's usually where all our strife comes. Very rarely are we in an immediate moment of urgency. And if you've ever read Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, he did a whole book on that. And most of it is us, focusing on something in the future based on an imprint of something in the past. So I think, Leo, there's a potential here where there could be a recognition of that habit. And in having that habit, you may start to rewrite that habit, because we start with Archangel Raphael, the healer. We have Archangel Uriel, frustration. We have Xana, protection. And then we have Adriana leading us to the answer to our prayers. And the answer to our prayers will always feel empowering. It will never feel like somebody bestowed something beautiful to us as much as we co-created it. Spirit wants us to feel that power. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the partnership card. Uriel is being joined by the protection card. Xana is being joined by the bird. And Adriana is being joined by the butterfly. The partnership card here could, obviously everybody knows that Leo rules romance. And if you don't know, well, welcome to the party, because that's fun. But I want to offer it this way, because I think that this is actually, here we are, looking at this very big, challenging card of thought, of worry, of worst case scenario. Now I feel like Archangel Raphael is giving us an opportunity to have an epiphany. And in doing so, I come into partnership with my thought. And I'm protected from my human frustration and my wanting to roar in that human frustration, because I'm further protected because I have a history. And I want to offer it this way, because for my Leos, rising moon, sun, and stelliums, one of your challenges is to trust your heart, is to have the courage to be the performer, to put yourself out in that leadership position. And I think when we perceive leadership through the eyes of the people outside of ourselves, it becomes a slippery slope. But when we become leaders for ourselves and we are focused about ourselves, we naturally draw to us people who will benefit from that leadership. Because here we have Adriana leading you to the answers to your prayers and your evolution from the caterpillar who can only see what is right in front of its face, to the butterfly that can see beyond. And I want to offer this too, because I believe that Saturn moving into Pisces is some sort of revisit to a theme of how mankind has rolled, regardless of your country, of your ethnicity, of your gender. There is a theme of repression that all of mankind has experienced. And as a soul, we choose various dynamics when we incarnate. And I think at this time, it's about liberating us from that story and becoming more aware of the soul within the human shell and the expression of that. And that's how we blossom. So I want to offer it this way. If you're feeling trepidation, if you're feeling a little bit of worry, we could see Pluto, as Pluto tips its toe into Aquarius in March, it will make an opposition to early born Leos. So I don't know that this is necessarily meant to throw you under the bus as much as it's willing. Pluto's going to ask you to dig deep underneath your sun sign or your rising sign or your moon sign and ask what's most important to your heart and give life to the evolution of that. And I remember when I first started working for myself, my accountant said to me, Teri, you can't have one foot in the past and move yourself forward in the future. So I started to bank on the future. And I think that's what this is about. Coming in partnership with your thoughts brings a healing. You're protected in some ways from your own frustration and your own old story, as that old story allows you to realize that you've been led to a much more beautiful place. Okay. Onwards and upwards to Virgo. All right, Virgo. Ooh, the sun is shining for you today. This is a beautiful, beautiful card, but it also requires a sense of vulnerability and a letting go of the reins, and it rules Leo. So I want to focus in on this. This child is not only naked, he is sitting in a way of great trust of the vessel on which he's riding. And I believe that this is also this youthful energy that has more trust in the journey than maybe an adult who's been on the ride a while. So let's look and see here what the potentials are here. This child is so joyous. I tend to wonder if Virgo's message this week isn't to have fun, to enjoy, put a little bit of your practicality and work life on the I don't know if I want to put it on the back burner, but maybe I want to put it on low heat. Let it simmer for a while. Maybe this is about having fun and enjoyment and trusting that if you have fun, everything else will play itself out. Our first angel is Ray. The second is Rochelle. The third is Archangel Uriel. Wow. And the final is Sonia. Archangel Uriel is coming out a lot today. Thank you, CJD. I appreciate that. Thank you, Courtney. All right, here we go. Ray is being joined by the frog. Rochelle is being joined by the deer. Archangel Uriel is being joined by the butterfly. And Sonia is being joined by the earth fairy. Okay, Virgo. First thing I want to say is that, you rule health, you rule employment at employers, and you rule modern slavery, because that's what our jobs are, really. Hi, Les. Welcome to the room. Good to see you. I really think that this is about enjoyment. It's about pleasure. It's about and service. Thank you very much, Lucy Rose. Being of service to people out of balance is not really being of service, though. When we're overly giving, there's a resentment that will build eventually. There's just no way to get around it. And what I think here, what Spirit is saying is it's time to take care of yourself, Virgo, in the way of allowing yourself a little fun and frivolity, a little bit of maybe playing hooky, a little bit, being a childlike energy, because Ray it talks about meditation yoga and exercise on the face of the card, but I think this is a connection to spirit. And I can't help but focus on this yellow stripe that very much is playing to the sun shining here. And that through playtime, there could be a release of emotional baggage, a little bit, a release of feeling a growing frustration, because I think your heart's been telling you it's time to go play, and it's time to be very gentle with yourself, as you may, there are certain signs And I have my Saturn in Capricorn, and I have Venus in Virgo. I also have Pluto in Virgo. And there's a part of me that's very practical, very much like I don't like my house to be in disorder. I don't like to go to bed with the dishes in the sink all dirty, because it creates chaos in my mind. And so I think this is about purporting behaviors that make you feel calm, make you feel like it's almost about moving away from other people and your service to them and being of service to yourself right now so that you're in better shape to be of service later, because there's anger and frustration and it's a time to transform from that. But how will that happen? It's about being and following your heart right now and being gentle and diplomatic with yourself if you're not seeing results in the 3D world just yet, but knowing that they're on their way, because here is an opportunity to have what you want grounded. And that could be your emotional body. But I want to offer this as well. Sonia represents your connection to the other side, deceased loved ones, and also your team. And I believe that this is really an opportunity to feel a sense of the divine as I, an earth sign Virgo, allow myself the privilege to put my feet on the ground and enjoy things a little bit rather than constantly being, Virgo could inadvertently be like, well, just let me get that done. Just, I'll go have fun, but let me finish that work project. Let me finish doing that. Let me get the kids' laundry done. Let me just real quickly. And I feel like, you know what? Maybe it's time to take a nap. Maybe it's time to just go sit in the park, look outside. There's something about getting out in the sunshine, about feeling the sun on your face, about enjoyment that will bring a sense of emotional calm. I don't believe we release anything. So it might bring you might actually sit, Virgo, and say to yourself, wow, I took care of me today. And now I'm even more excited about what I get to do the week coming ahead. I like that, Lucy Rose, because here I really think this is about being gentle and diplomatic with yourself as you put yourself first rather than what you think your obligations are that will just create frustration. And rather than frustration, you now get to evolve into a new energy and to ground that energy a little bit into the 3D world. I also want to say this about Virgo. I don't know why, but I think some of you are actually going to experience signs from the other side this week. Depending upon the type of things that the where you let yourself pay attention to random things. So I watch General Hospital. I have since I was a kid. My mom got me stuck on it, and now I'm like a lifer. And last year, when I was listening to some of the dialogue in the background, they had an announcement over the hospital speaker, and it said, Dr. Arthur, report to whatever it was. And I was going through a bit of a challenge. My grandfather's name is Arthur. And so I connected that to a sign from the other side. Now, whether it was or wasn't is not really relevant. What's more relevant is my association. And in doing so, it felt like a sign of comfort. Virgo, I feel like that's another thing going on here, is to really start to pay attention to the signs and the omens that you're getting from the other side so that you could feel more comforted as you're making some changes that don't feel necessarily natural to you. The signs that are of service or the signs that are very cooperative with, in partnership tend to be absorbed rather than be individualistic. So healthy boundaries is important. Oh my God, Les, you are my new best friend. I love you because you love General Hospital. And Carly is there's some stuff going on. I don't know if Willow's going to die. I don't think she really is, but boy, they are putting us through our paces, aren't they? And I really love the Jess or the Jocelyn and Dex storyline. I think that's super good too. I've been watching since I was about 3, and I used to complain about it to my mom. Can we put on something else? Let me watch cartoons. And then the next thing you know, there I was racing home from work at 2:00 because they didn't have VCRs when I started watching General Hospital. I was a maniac on the road to get home so I wouldn't miss a minute. Okay, here we go. On to our Libras, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. The Page of Pentacles. Thank you very much. The infusion of money, the infusion of things coming into the material world. This is very exciting. Oh, I never got into into the CBS shows. I was into All My Children. Really miss the antics of Opal and Susan Lucci's character Erica Kane. But I always said if it came down to one soap opera, GH is my deal. All right, let's go on to our Libras. It is kind of funny to age with the characters. I really love that the women on General Hospital, like Anna and some of the older characters are not too. They're aging nicely. Lucy hasn't done anything to her face. It's nice to see that. Yeah, total nostalgia. I miss All My Children. There were so many good characters on that. Okay, Libra. Joining the Page of Pentacles is Bridget. Then we have Yvonne. Then we have Akasha. And then we have Archangel Raphael. It went through a little rocky. All My Children tried to restart, but it didn't connect. They had too many new characters. It was not really done right. Okay, Libra, Bridget and the Bee card are being joined together. Yvonne and the Wind Fairy, Akasha and the Queen, Archangel Raphael and the Focus card. Okay. On some level, I feel a little bit repetitive, but when you are really talking about divine laws, when you're talking about things that like gravity, you throw it up, it's coming down. Okay, that's just the way it goes. So when we talk about divine laws, as Libra focuses in on the resources that you want. And I want to offer this too, because when you're focusing in on the resources, if you had a moment of thinking, if you notice yourself, you'll see, oh, I want, $10,000. Oh, I don't have $10,000. And if you can pay attention to what are the percentages of you looking into the viability of what you want? Because I will tell you, I have been raised by people who think what I do for a living is crazy, let alone how I go about managing my financial body. Because here, there will be money for Libra, okay? And this is this page is about practicing untried skills. And this is focusing in on money in a way of reception, of ease. See how he's not standing difficult. He's not bracing. So now this is about Libra looking deeper into your being energy. What do you believe about yourself, about your ability to create resources, about your ability to receive resources effortlessly? Because here is Yvonne, my card of vulnerability, and my Wind Fairy. This is about my thoughts and my things. And the human is trained to worry. If you really pay attention, in the United States, the commercials are riddled with disempowering messages. It's not an if your body's going to, fall apart. It's when. And it's when your kidneys are going to drop off and when your diabetes is going to do this and when. This is about to blow up. Okay. When Saturn goes into Pisces, it's going to spike up a little bit cuckoo, but I think it's going to make people rebel in a way where they're going to take their power back, because Akasha is teaching Libra, you are receiving energy. You are and will always be. And the more effortless you are in trusting that endeavor, the more you allow yourself the joy of relaxation, the more you will feel the balance and healing of your own focus. I'm telling you, I was listening to Abraham the other day, and when I get nervous about things, and I get nervous all the time because I've had Saturn going over my Chiron forever. I've had Pluto squaring me up and down all over the place and will soon oppose me. And I started talking to these planets. I'm like, you know what? I'm ready to capitalize on the fun side of you. You know what, Pluto, I've looked at the dark side, and now I'm going to look at the billionaires. Now I'm going to look at power over my own thought process. And the power's not wrestling it down to the ground. The power is the ease, just the awareness. And in the awareness, I have a thought that doesn't serve me. Uh-oh, I'm never going to work again. Oh no, I'm going to be evicted. Oh no, I'm never going to be able to, I can get so dramatic in my own head sometimes. It cracks me up, because at the same time, there is a bigger part of me that is saying, really? Is that really your truth? Or do you feel that we will provide for you? Because that's what I've been doing, is telling spirit, I really do believe you'll provide for me. And I do believe that's the strongest energy. And when I have these thoughts of worry, they are literally fleeting. I really feel that there is a powerful thing happening for Libra, an epiphany. An epiphany of your focus. Okay, let's go on to our Scorpios. You just used my age, for example. And I don't even, it's not just, I think that it's not just what's being prescribed. I think a lot of it has to do with the trusting and giving our power away without discernment. When my tooth moved in my mouth, the first thing I thought is, how did they deal with this, back before there was dentistry? And, there's so many interesting things. I don't actually know how they did deal with it, but there was clearly things that could be done. And I came across, I'm I watch TikTok, and there was somebody talking about castor oil helping bone spurs, helping, through compresses on the outside of the body, the castor oil would be absorbed. Anyway, what I have done is I've asked spirit to continue to bring to me those natural resources that have been put on this earth to help rectify whatever I need. And I think that's part of what the disruption is going on here is so that we can start practicing some of our more benign ancestral gifts that were given to us versus the experimentation we're doing on each other. Scorpio, your tarot card is the Seven of Cups. Oh, you're kidding, CJD. This is an interesting energy because this character is in shadow, and every opportunity presents both a challenge and a benefit. And I feel as if, it's best depicted when we look at the cup with the skull on it and then the victory wreath. So here I feel Scorpio is going to go through maybe a potential of opportunity or see things that have two sides, a win and a loss to them. And you're going to have to dig deep into your inner being as to what will be most appropriate or most palatable for you. Let's see where this is coming into. I know. I'm with you, Courtney, there. I got to tell you. I take magnesium. I'm really into my Vimergy supplements. I think everybody's, things have become a business, and we have to have the business of discernment. And I think that as these things become out of balance, it's because we as individuals get to start to practice that discernment. Again, Saturn moving into Pisces is really going to kick this into gear for the next 2 years. Till February 2026. All right, Scorpio. Our first angel is Teresa. The second is Aurora. The third is Adriana. And the final is Chantal. Woo! Teresa's being joined by the Earth Fairy. Aurora's being joined by the Focus card. Adriana's being joined by the Eagle. And Chantal's being joined by the High Priestess. Okay, Scorpio. Okay, this is the first thing I want to say, Scorpio, is that this is about an opportunity to practice your inner knowing, to practice it in a way where the results will not be obvious right away, but as you set an intention and you trust a bigger picture. Again, I'm going to use myself as an example. When people don't schedule, I have a meltdown. I mean, I could work my ass off for a whole week and then I have 2 days off and I'm already freaking out. Okay. Because I don't operate with a paycheck, so I don't know where money is coming all the time. And this really does task me with trusting and inner knowing beyond what I can see with my eyes, or beyond how I can respond to people when they say, how will you do that? I don't know how I will do it. I just know I will be it. So this is where I'm going with this, because I believe that if you look outside yourself, Scorpio, the choices are going to mess you up. They're going to be blah, 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 and you're going to have to go into this space of allowing. And this is kind of interesting too, because Pluto rules the dark things, the toxic energies we don't see underneath. Now we have this opportunity to truly ground in a physical way. Teresa talks about worry, about caring for other people. And I feel like this is about looking at what's important to you, Scorpio, and looking at yourself sort of as that mom that goes on the plane. They tell you, look, if something happens, don't put the mask on the baby, put the mask on yourself, because as you put the mask on yourself, you can save the baby. Because Teresa can be about worry, but worry about what other people want and what other people think. And here is the Earth Fairy, which is about grounding. It's about creating a foundation. It's also about your health, but I think that this is more about grounding yourself into your own vision of what you want versus what other people think is attainable for you. Because Aurora says you're flying high right now, don't descend. You will soon inspire others with your example. And then we have the focus card. And again, this is focusing not in on what other people will think, but what is coming from an interior knowing. We have your totem, the eagle, right here, and we have Adriana leading you to the answers to your prayers. If we think about what Pluto really represents, first of all, that heart on the face of the planet, coming from the depths of your heart, being willing to look at the deep psychological imprint that you may not even know is there, but you can feel it somewhere. There's something inside my psyche that's holding me back. There's something inside of me that won't let me move forward. And rather than trying to figure out what that is, going, okay, rather than looking at the problem, what could be the solution? Do I care enough about how I feel that I'm willing to birth myself into the unknown? Because Chantal, while it talks about having a relationship, surgence of love and intimate relationship, I think this is about the love of self, being semi-vulnerable as you trust your inner knowing once again. So here we see a trust of the inner knowing being required as the options don't look good with my physical eyes, being aware of my focus, trusting my connection to the other side, and then trusting and loving myself enough to allow that interior intuitive knowing to reveal itself in the 3D world. All right, Scorpio. On to our Sagittarius. Hey, Stephen, welcome to the room. Yes, Super Bowl Sunday. Completely forgot about it. I'm not an Eagles fan, I will tell you right now. In fact, I have disdain for the Eagles, and mostly because they rehired Michael Vick after he was convicted of that terrible dog situation. So I'm rooting for the opposing team, which I believe are the Chiefs. Only for that reason. Oh, CJD, I love the puppy bowl. Okay, for our Sagittariuses, we have the Six of Pentacles. You know, when we look at this card and I see the scales of justice, I really kind of see the divine laws of the universe here, because am I going to be a have or a have not? These two beggars have given up their power to whoever this gentleman is above them. And I feel like potentially this could be talking about your power to receive, your power to create bounty. When we look at the minor arcana cards in the tarot, the first 5 cards represent one chapter, and then 6 to 10 represent a second chapter. So the 6 is almost about a new beginning. Let's see where we're going with this. Our first angel is Francesca. The second is Fiona. The third is Rochelle. And the final is Ray. You know, Sagittarius represents the connection to the angelic realm. It represents, you know, expansion in really big ways, seeing beyond the human experience and opening up to concepts that we cannot see with our physical eyes, but we can sometimes feel with our heart when we don't get too caught up in what's happening in the material world. So Francesca talks about, what do you visualize right now? What do you desire? Are you thinking about that, or are you concentrating on the challenge of it? Because there's the B card. And as you focus in on what it will feel like when you're achieving, I felt very, very powerful this week, because when I produced my videos, I was more aware this week. I had an emotional investment in these Saturn Pluto videos, but the investment wasn't for them to produce something for me as much as I wanted it to produce something for you. And in that, I went before I started them, I meditated and asked Spirit to fill me and my heart with loving service to others, but also to create an even exchange of energy, because I do want bounty from this work. So here's an opportunity to create bounty as I focus in on what I love, what I want, versus the challenge of it. Because Fiona is saying, now that you asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving. But that might be a bit of a burden right now, because you have to sit in an energy of unknowing whether you will be the have or the have not. So your ability to intend to be a have is going to really start to create a huge opportunity for you. Because Rochelle says, as you honor and follow the guidance of your heart, prosperity is coming to you. And not just because of money, but because of how you feel on the inside. Money is not the Shangri-La. It's enjoyment, pleasure, feeling valued, feeling like a contributor. And here's this opportunity to shed a skin and to gain knowledge from your heart, because your heart will tell you a truth that your mind will not let you accept sometimes. So here is Ray being joined by the frog. Now we've got two energies offering a new beginning, a clean, I wanted to say a cleansing, because it does feel like a cleansing of the noise. And so this is how I want to phrase it. Trepidation, worry, it's a loud noise in our mind. But when we are more connected to that which we cannot see, and yet we intend and we trust that co-creation, which Sagittarius has the ability to do more effortlessly than some, because of the mutability, because of the expansion of Jupiter, because of the willing to think outside the box. Now your connection to the other side will give you power that you didn't know you had before, and demonstratable, meaning to the outside world. So I feel as if, again, we are walking into 2023, what I think will be polarizing, in the sense of some of us are going to really start to stand on a platform of our spiritual evolution that will create bounty beyond what the outside world is experiencing. And because of that, people will say, you're lucky. And you'll say, well, maybe I'm lucky, but I also am very aware of my being energy, which helps create my good luck. So I will absolutely be a have, and I will relax as I wait for the universe to deliver that bounty. All right, on to our final sign for today, our Cappies. Our late-born Cappies, you got Pluto right on your sun, offering you opportunities for change in a good way. All right, here we go. And we have the Seven of Swords for our Capricorns. Now, this is interesting energy because it's very much about going your own way. And here again, we see the element of the swords representing our thoughts. And so here now, this is the evolution of Capricorn, what we've been watching happen as Pluto has gone through your first house. There's a part of you that's starting to take your thoughts and they're transforming, and you're going your own way with those thoughts. And you're leaving some of the thoughts that haven't served you where they belong, back with the herd. And I want to offer it this way because, again, Capricorn, when I think about, the story of Saturn and Saturn, overtaking his father Uranus. So immediately he's got this, he has this feeling of, I've taken authority and I've dethroned authority. So when Saturn became of authority to his own children, he naturally feared them overturning him. So where I'm going with this is there is a feeling of Capricorn kind of rewriting history this time, looking at things in a way that allows you to take the transformed thoughts and take them with you and leave the old thoughts where they belong, with the herd. Our first angel is Fiona. The second is Xana. The third is Rosetta. And the final is Akasha. Fiona says, now that you ask God and the angels for help, be open to receiving. This is something that's a new idea for Capricorn because they're used to building and doing. And this could be part of the thoughts that you're taking with you. The 7, here, Capricorn, transformational energy happening for you right now. We have 7 full moons in a row. By the time it ends in April with the Libra full moon, we have a 7-year, and now we have this 7 of Swords for you. This is introspection from an intellectual place to create balance for the things that you want to experience on this earthly plane that up until now you may not have because you felt a sense of duty and obligation to structures that were not really aligned to what makes you happy. And if they were aligned, then I think we're going to a new octave of it. Because Fiona's saying, now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving. And I think this love card is love of self as you've made decisions that may have ruffled the feathers of others who have become accustomed to you taking care of them or being there for them, or whatever duty and obligation you have been purporting. Now, as you start to put in some boundaries for yourself, and I want to offer it this way because it very much feels like Capricorn is changing their thought process, which is then changing how they're showing up in the world. And I think it's kind of a slow process, just like Saturn. I think you've been taking your time and you've been implementing these things, because when I look at the king, I don't think that it's about a male energy. I think it's about the divine laws of the universe, and that you're being protected as you start to implement them and don't feel like you have to do it all on your own. I did Libra. It's back there. Sorry, I know, because I'm a Libra sun. Okay, and I only have 12 tarot cards, so if I would have had a card missed. Anyway, so for my Capricorns, I want to say that this is an opportunity to take authority. Do you see how his hand is on this sword here? And to know that you're being protected as you sit in more energies of the things that you love and you enjoy. Now, I don't care what that is. You could spend all day long working hard if you love that and it's not an obligatory energy. Because to me, as you start to adopt a more, I want to say this. When I look at this Rosetta right now, I feel like this is the child within enjoying herself. And this is about being gentle and diplomatic as you unravel maybe some old thoughts of what obligations you had to the tribe, to the others, because this guy is leaving the tribe, leaving the caravan, leaving this city in order to go out on his own. And I think when I look at Akasha, the teacher, and I look at the risk card, I feel like this is spirit teaching you that as you risk, you will experience more divine love for yourself and for this human experience. This is why when I was talking to Saturn earlier today, literally asking the planet, why if you are a god and you're a Titan, why are you so married to the human following human structure? Like, does that make sense? No, it actually doesn't make sense. I think there's been a misinterpretation. I think we played telephone with Saturn's energy, and somewhere along the line, the message got messed up. Because I think that Saturn's talking about actually being accountable and responsible and knowing that the only thing that's really sustainable are the laws of the universe from the top of Mount Olympus, not from Compton, not from Encino, not from Laguna Beach, not from LA, not from North Carolina, not from Dubai. So I want to offer this to you, Capricorn. I think you're going to feel more love and more bounty and more reception as you understand that the true laws of the universe protect you. And as you start to really take this stance of trusting that and being gentle with yourself as you move forward, I think you're actually going to teach people what it's like to not risk. This risk card doesn't feel as risky to me. It feels actually like it actually lowers the risk. And that's what I'm learning and inadvertently will be teaching others as I go my own way. Really powerful stuff. All right, guys. I think that's it for this week. Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for being here today. And we'll be back on next Sunday, same bat time, same bat channel. I'll be putting out a new moon video this week. Be on the lookout for that. And the March monthlies will be coming out soon. So everybody, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for hitting that notification bell so you'll know when new content comes out. And I just want you to know I love you and I appreciate you. And I hope you enjoyed the videos on Saturn and Pluto, because I think they're really, really important to pay attention to now, because as we set up the energy now, there will be bounty to be had when we start to feel these energies. All right, everybody, that's it for me. I'm out. Peace out. See you next week.